through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening. It is 11 o'clock. I'm Nana Aquia. This is Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition. 1,000 in just three out. Mark White reveals more than 1,000 small boat migrants have crossed the Channel just today. And...
well, I don't love it. I don't love it. I don't like it when that happens. It could be big trouble.
Could Russia be in big trouble? Putin tests Trump's patience as warplanes are intercepted again, this time flying over Estonia. Is Putin trying to escalate this war in Ukraine? Plus...
benefits are clear. Digital ID will make our interactions with each other and with the state faster, cheaper and more reliable.
Tony Blair's digital ID plan is given the green light by Sir Keir Starmer as the government seek a solution to illegal migration. Have China been given the green light to spy? That's the warning from the Speaker after charges were dropped against two men accused of espionage. So joining me this evening, Labour MP Barry Gardiner, journalist and broadcaster Christo Fufas, and the comedian and GB News contributor Stephen N. Allen. But first, let's get your latest news with Aaron Armstrong.
Thanks, Dan. A very good evening to you. It's a minute past 11. We begin with breaking news. More than 1,000 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel today. GB News can exclusively reveal 195 asylum seekers arrived in the UK just after 9 p.m, bringing the total for the day to 1,061. The crossings began at first light off the coast of Calais and Dunkirk, when people smugglers launched multiple small boats, following 9 days of windy weather which prevented any attempts to make the journey. An Iranian man's become the third person to be removed from the UK under the one-in, one-out deal with France. It follows the removal of an Eritrean man earlier on Friday on an Air France flight from Heathrow Airport and the deportation of an Indian national on Thursday. The Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy says the deal is providing an immediate deterrent to people seeking to cross the Channel. Donald Trump says Russia's violation of Estonia's airspace could cause big trouble. 3 warplanes entered Estonia's airspace for 12 minutes without permission before being intercepted by NATO fighter jets and forced to flee. The EU's top diplomat, Kaja Kallas, who's Estonian, says Vladimir Putin is testing the West's resolve. The Swedish military has published 2 photographs of the Russian jets taken over the Baltic Sea after they'd left Estonian airspace. It comes just over a week after more than 20 Russian drones were shot down over Poland, with a similar incident taking place days later in Romania. The family of an elderly British couple detained by the Taliban for 8 months in Afghanistan say their release is a moment of immense joy. Peter and Barbie Reynolds were reunited with their daughter Sarah after touching down in Qatar, which was instrumental in mediating their release. The couple, who had lived in the country for 18 years running an education initiative, were arrested for breaking Afghan laws, although officials have not specified which laws were broken. They'll undergo medical checks in the Gulf state before returning to Britain. A man's been jailed for 14 years for child sex offences against 39 young girls he catfished pretending to be a 14-year-old boy. Stuart Latham deceived the youngsters into believing he was a teenager to obtain indecent images from them. He promised cash or gifts in return. The 22-year-old from Wigan was sentenced for 49 charges, including rape, blackmail, making indecent images and causing a child to engage in sexual activity. The British and Irish governments have announced a new joint framework to deal with the legacy of the Northern Ireland Troubles. It includes an overhaul of the commission that looks into deaths that took place during the conflict and replaces the 2023 Legacy Act that cancelled inquests and prosecutions and was opposed by Labour, all Northern Ireland parties, several victim groups and the Irish government. And a British Airways flight attendant found naked and high on drugs in a plane toilet during a transatlantic flight has been spared jail. The court heard how Hayden Pentecost locked himself in a bathroom and emerged naked and completely oblivious to his condition. He was unable to answer what year it was or who the US president was and drank 15 to 20 bottles of water during the flight as a result of taking amphetamines and crystal meth. Those are your latest headlines. Now, it's back to Nana.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition. I'm Nana Aquia. Let's bring you the front pages from tomorrow's papers. Right, let's take a look at The Guardian. Two-child benefit cap is spiteful, says the minister. Oh, terrible. Number 10, preferred deputy leader candidate signals policy could be scrapped. Independent on the front cover there. The Navy can take on small boats. Admiral, nonsense. Wow, we'll look into that one. And then The Sun on the front cover. Met bid to nail Maddie suspect. Front cover of the Mail. NATO warplanes intercept Putin's jets over Estonia. The Daily Star leads with give Ricky a statue. On the front cover of the Times, China given licence to spy. The Daily Mirror, 1D Louis duped into £4 million fraudster's footy plot. Oh dear. Financial Times leads with Keir Starmer, gives a green light to digital ID plan. We heard Tony Blair there. And the Daily Express, so how is one in, one out scheme going, Keir? And on the weekend, MPs secretly want to kill UK state pension triple lock, but reform too toxic for Reeves. And the front cover of the Telegraph, rewards terror, says Badenoch. Right, let's kick off with some breaking news, though, tonight. More than 1,000 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel today. And it comes at the end of a week in which just 3 migrants were returned to France through the one-in, one-out scheme. Throughout the day, Border Force and lifeboats from Ramsgate and Dover responded to back-to-back sightings of migrant boats. Well, let's get the thoughts of my panel. Labour MP Barry Gardiner, journalist and broadcaster Christo Fufas, and comedian and GB News contributor Steve N. Allen. Right, Steve, I'm going to start with you. On board with the others.
Charming. I enjoyed it on the way in. I'm amazed we're all still OK. It got a bit feisty, didn't it? I checked for bruises when I walked in. Yeah, this is interesting. You're one in, one out. I can run the maths for you. I like a bit of maths. Now we're at 333.3 recurring to 1, which is better than yesterday. It was at 500 to 1, and the day before that was 1,000 to 1. So at this rate, do you know how long it'll take them to get down to 1 in, 1 out? I mean, it's infinity. It still doesn't look great. But the idea is, I suppose, at least 3 people have left. Although I also think person 1, this is someone from India who was sent back to France who will be sent back to India. So France have not had to deal with any numbers there at all, have they? They've just got, a couple of carbon miles on it. And it also, on that day, it did feel like they just asked for a volunteer, that no one was going for this plan at all. Like, is anyone nice and they'd like to go for a trip to France? So it doesn't look like it's great. If it's 1,000 in and 1 out, that's not what we were promised.
No, it isn't, is it? Barry Gardiner, it's not what we were promised, is it?
Well, look, it was always promised to be a pilot scheme that would expand.
And it's sent more pilots over there than it has been.
Nice one. Look, the key thing this week, I think, is not that we've actually managed to do what at the beginning of the week people on GB News were saying they didn't believe would happen on Monday. So we've actually done that. But I think the key thing is what Shabana Mahmood did to get that to happen. And that was she circumvented this constant appeals circuit that goes on. I had a case...
That's not necessarily true, Barry, because what happens is they failed their appeal, so eventually they were sent back, but they were still able to appeal on multiple occasions.
In fact, what happened on the I think it was the first one, was that...
Didn't the flight leave without him?
Because he
appealed.
Because he appealed and he got to, was it 24 hours or 2 weeks?
But they short-circuited the ability to appeal. I mean, I have a number of asylum seekers in my constituency who I see the way in which the appeals go round, and then when they're refused leave to appeal, they put in a fresh application. And it's that Shabana Mahmood has now tried to clip. And I think if we can do that, then we'll stop this perpetual revolving door where people who have been told you have no basis to be here don't then get another bite at the cherry by going to a fresh application.
Well, can't they have an appeal abroad? So they can go, they get sent back, and then they're welcome to appeal, but they'll do it from wherever they are, and we don't pay for it. Christos?
That's exactly the point, yeah.
But any appeals, not one, not two, go to wherever it is, we'll send you back and then you can appeal from there.
The only way that this will get sorted is, well, there's a couple of ideas, but I think it's a third country. Now, Rwanda, I don't know whether that was a good choice or not, whether that was a stunt. We never really got to see whether that would have worked. However, the idea, and I made the point in the last show, that they would be sent back to the place that they had just come from, which is France, is that well, you would still give it a go to come over here, because the worst that will happen is you'll end up back where you started. Whereas if you knew that when you came here, you would end up potentially in Rwanda or a third country or a processing centre offshore, then you would probably be far less likely to try. And that is why I think it's not going to work, and that is why, I mean, we're actually celebrating 3.
There's the odd side of that as well. Sorry to jump in, but just to agree with Christo, but again with some more numbers.
Sorry. Shabana Mahmood actually put out a video acting like she was, you know, the second coming when she actually had one person going back. So she did put out this video that was a little bit OTT.
Yeah, and to your point of the idea that all you do is you end up back in France, so why wouldn't you try it? Also, the odds are in your favour. They must look at it and go 50,000 crossings, 3 gone back. They're better than scratch card odds.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you give it a go anyway? Because if you'd be very unlucky to be one of the 3, and also there's nothing stopping you getting to France and trying again.
Yeah. But that's Reform's policy, is to push people back to France, even with the Navy. You know, if you did what Trump says, and which our generals say you can't do, but if you did that, the Reform policy is put them back to France. So the same argument applies.
No. They wouldn't get here.
If you did that and people realised that if they got on the dinghy they'd be sent back, they wouldn't bother. If you did that even once or twice, you would bring down those figures immediately.
But no, that's exactly the point. I mean, I think there's much more important things.
So what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? So you agree with me that they should be sent back to France? All of them?
What I'm saying is that the whole way in which this is based is that because you're sending people back, people who are then en route say, OK, I have a chance of being able to apply legally and come to the UK here en route without risking my life in the Channel.
But I have a better chance if I get on the dinghy and not worry about it, and I'll get a house, I'll get everything.
No, you won't. I'm sorry, that's just not true. You won't get a house. You won't get
some of them do, yes. Some of them get a house.
Only if they are allowed to be here.
So it's true?
Only if they are genuine asylum seekers who have a right to be here.
So some of them end up in HMOs, that's a house. Some of them end up in hotels,
if they don't have a right to be here, they don't get a house. And actually most young...
Barry, that's not true. When they get here, let me finish, they're given somewhere to stay, which will be in some sort of house. So when they get here, an HMO, a hotel, a detention centre, wherever it is, they are still
You've changed your tack. They're not given a house. In the terms that anybody watching this programme understands, and they're given a house,
they are.
That would mean that they were on the housing list. A local authority gave them a house. That's what most people understand by that phrase.
Some of them end up in HMOs, that is a house.
They don't. They don't get given a house.
Some of them end up in HMOs. I'm sorry.
You're arguing semantics.
You are arguing with semantics. I've literally just told you all those things. They are housed. They're given somewhere to be.
Somewhere to stay.
Somewhere to stay. They're given accommodation. That'll be a house. It will be a detention centre. It will be all those things. They are given somewhere to stay, and we're paying for it.
And can I just say, it is not the same. If you know any time you get into a boat, and by the way, I think there are flaws with the Navy doing it, and I think it might need to be another sort of patrol, because the Navy, when it was last tried, refused point blank. The Ministry of Defence said no, so I'm not sure Reform's plan would hold water. They would have to try and make that happen. However,
I mean, the Admiral here...
However, to equate that, someone being turned back, if they know they get into a boat and they're halfway across and they know they're going to be turned back, that is not the same as someone arriving here and then having a minuscule chance out of thousands of people of actually ending up going back to France. They are vastly different.
So, Chris, let me ask you this. If the scheme as a pilot is expanded, right, and you end up with half of the people being sent back, or a quarter, or two-thirds, what do you think would be the level at which people weigh up the odds of risking their lives in a small boat and thinking, I've got half a chance of getting there, and even if I get there, 100%. I may not be accepted.
If they're all sent
you think they'd still go?
One.
Or would they?
It would be about the numbers.
I'm better trying to apply en route now that there is a legal way of my doing
about the numbers. If some are sent back and they end up, the numbers then crossing plummet, well, then I think we will happily say, well, look, it's working, and none of us will complain about that, right?
But it's not working, is it? And the thing
is... It's not yet.
But by doing this, in a way, you're almost saying, OK, you guys come. You're almost encouraging people to take the boats instead of stopping them and letting them know. Because it's supposedly dangerous, although once you get halfway in, just call the RNLI or Border Force and they'll come and pick you up.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we were promised this new super-improved Border Force that were getting extra powers and, counter-terrorism-style powers. You thought they would have been kicking some bottom, but that's not seemed to be happening yet, has it? And there are flaws with the plan because France gets to take a veto on who gets sent back, so they are effectively cherry-picked. But there were similar flaws with the Rwanda plan, where Rwanda could decide to say, oh, no, this person we send back to the UK, so which could have been like a filtration system that ended up where we
Rwanda were willing. Rwanda were willing and able. And actually, they've got a lower crime rate, lower murder rate than the capital of this country as well.
Maybe we should go there.
Wait until we've sent some people over there.
Exactly. In terms of safety, it's apparently a safer country than this country.
Let's go to Rwanda. You've really sold Rwanda on me, actually, I have to say.
It's the gorilla capital, too. They've got a wonderful gorilla sanctuaries and everything else like that.
Okay. Well, let's not dismiss
it's supposed to be the jewel of Africa's crown, actually, so it's a beautiful place.
I just can't see how it's going to work. What we need to do is have an offshore processing centre in. I'm so sick of saying it, but it is the only way, and it's what Australia did. Australia's crossings went to 0, and that's because they were intercepted, and if they were in a boat, they were taken to a place offshore, and that was where they were processed.
We have the Isle of Wight.
Keir Starmer, listen, Keir Starmer, in his speech, when he was talking to Donald Trump, said that he would detain everybody who comes across the channel. He said, detain them all. Now, do you believe him, Barry?
Do I believe Keir Starmer?
He said he's going to detain them all. He didn't say... He said all.
Yeah. Why,
since he said that, we've had 1,000 come over. So these people will be detained.
Will be detained.
So they'll be contained in a space. They'll not be allowed to roam the streets.
No, it didn't say they won't be allowed to roam.
Well, that's what detained in my mind means.
I think Starmer might be playing a bit of a semantic argument himself there, because if they're moving away from hotels and changing some military bases into something, you can define that as being detained. Now, whether that is permanent detainment, I suppose it wouldn't be, would it? So he can tick the box of saying we detained these people for a short term as
I'm going on holiday next week. I'll be detained in a hotel.
You should be as well. So.
Thank you.
So, look, Barry, you asked, so what level would be acceptable in terms of the one in, one out? My answer is 100%. Everybody who comes via that route should be told that they will be sent back, which is kind of what Keir Starmer was sort of saying, that they'd all be detained. I think if everyone who came via that way thought that they would be sent right back, that would end the smugglers' model in a heartbeat. But if we really want to end it...
How would somebody who does have a well-founded fear of persecution in their country of origin seek asylum in the United Kingdom?
That would work, wouldn't it? You can be detained and still apply. And the problem is the processing takes so long that you can't have a system where...
But not on nanas. If anybody who came in
via that route, absolutely.
But you can't. You're not able to come by aircraft because the airlines don't allow you unless you've got the appropriate documentation. So because we're an island. what would actually be the way in which we could take somebody who had that genuine asylum case?
I'll answer it. We would have return agreements with countries that we believe that people are fearing persecution. And when you're taking people from like India, Pakistan and some of these places where they clearly, these are good countries where there's not that much happening, where they could stay there, then I would have a list of people who can come here via those safe and legal routes. But not anyone and everyone, because otherwise, where does it end? We can't open the doors to the entire world. Anyone can say, oh, well, I'm fearing persecution.
What would those safe and legal routes be?
Well, for the people who we believe, from the countries that we believe, that we should be able to offer sanctuary to. What's wrong? We can't open the doors to the entire world.
But no, that's precisely what this is trying to do. And that's why it's been important to have that understanding with another government, for the first time, with another government, where we can actually do that processing, not in the UK, but actually in a foreign soil.
Yeah, but that's not really how it's working, is it? Because they all get on the boat and then they do it here. Where we
at the moment,
can I do a bit of nostalgia?
Go on.
Remember Smash the Gangs? Oh, do you remember that? Oh, what happened to that, eh?
Well,
where did that go?
About 9 months to find somebody who'd head up his board of command control or whatever it was.
And now we're not even talking about that anymore. Now we're not really smashing them.
That's because 3 people have been sent back, Christo. Come on. It's more than 2.
Hurrah.
Oh, yeah. Cynicism reigns. Cynicism reigns tonight.
You must be proud of them for that.
I think it's really actually very important that we have established that deal with France, because it's the first time it's happened, and I think if we can expand the pilot scheme, it will make an impact.
We shall see. Right, coming up.
Well, I don't love it. I don't love it. I don't like when that happens. It could be big trouble.
Is Donald Trump losing patience with Vladimir Putin as he continues to fly into NATO airspace? This is Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition, with me, Nana Acquia.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show Live starts Monday night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
What do you think is the origin of this palace not being loved by the royal family as a place to live?
Well, you see, it's a little bit like an Edwardian hotel in Brighton. It's all long corridors and rooms off them. It's not very friendly as a place, you know. So the Queen and Prince Philip occupied the rooms along the Constitution Hill side. She had half of them and he had the other half. And if ever they came out into a corridor, you know, so it's just not very friendly. And of course, the other thing is that the gardens are now terribly overlooked by the Hilton and other big buildings, whereas the King living at Clarence House, he has a very nice garden there and it's not overlooked at all. I mean, I have seen Prince Philip's rooms because I worked with his office a lot and I did a book about his mother, so I was there quite often. I haven't seen the Queen's rooms, but I'd love to see them.
Yes. And at the beginning of Queen Elizabeth II's reign, the palace was not open to the public at all, was it?
No, it wasn't. And actually, she didn't want to go and live there either. She was living in Clarence House, but Churchill said that it was sovereign's residence and she had to move in. He forced her to move in. That was quite tricky because the Queen Mother and Princess Margaret were still living there at the beginning. And then they moved into Clarence House a little while later, somewhat before the coronation. The only reason that the palace was open as a public tourist attraction was to make money to pay for the fire damage of 1992 at Windsor Castle. And that was so successful that the opening has gone on ever since, and it raises money for the Royal Collection Trust in order to look after all the treasures which are held by the sovereign for the nation.
GB News, the People's Channel.
you want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good evening. Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition with me, Nana Acquia. Now, Russia is being warned that they could face big trouble after 3 Russian fighter jets violated Estonian airspace in a brazen provocation on NATO's eastern front. Speaking earlier, President Trump had this to say.
Jets entered Estonia's airspace today for 12 minutes. Do you see that as a threat to NATO?
Well, I'm going to have to look at it. They're going to be briefing me in a short while, so I'll let you know about it tonight or tomorrow.
What's your take in general?
Well, I don't love it. I don't love it. I don't like it when that happens. It could be big trouble, but I'll let you know later. They're going to brief me in about an hour.
So the incident is Moscow's 3rd attempt this month to apparently test NATO's eastern border. Well, joining us now is military historian and defence analyst Chris Newton. Chris, welcome to the programme. So this is a direct kind of provocation towards NATO and an absolute test of NATO's resolve, isn't it?
Yeah, good evening. This is a test of NATO's resolve. It's the result of a series of provocations, which you can state as an escalation, and it's ultimately a response to, I have to say, the approach of Donald Trump, which has not been the strongest. And Russia, I think, and Putin has indicated or believes that NATO has demonstrated weakness, and therefore Putin is testing its air defences and launching especially with the Polish incursion last week with 19 drones. They're really testing sort of NATO's resolve and willingness to respond to these. And what I would like to see now from Trump is that, yes, he spoke some fairly strong words there. They do need to be followed up with some action, especially in terms of sanctions.
But that's kind of a bit rich, isn't it? Because the EU, all the countries that are part of NATO, the European countries that are part of NATO, have just fed Ukraine just enough to keep the war going, but not enough to actually win it. So now Donald Trump is getting a bit more active. I would actually go as far as to blame the other NATO countries for being so weak and kind of creating red lines for Vladimir Putin, which he hadn't really created himself.
Well, I would agree with you there. You can say it's a result of both Trump's naivety, but also the Europeans' complacency, complacency over the fact that over decades they haven't built their defences, and indeed has decreased their armed forces over the decades. And as you're right, in terms of Ukraine, they've been caught napping, and they're only just catching up in terms of rebuilding their defence industrial capability and feeding, as you say, Ukraine just enough to keep going. So it is a result, I think, of these Russian incursions are the result of weakness on both sides of the Atlantic, both on the part of Trump, but also especially in terms of the Western Europeans. The Eastern Europeans, as they're right next door to Russia, they understand this more, and they have been ramping their defence budgets up considerably. We need to see more action from the Western Europeans and from the United States and Canada as well.
Well, I'm going to ask my panel if they want to open it out to see if they've got any questions. For Christo?
Well, I mean, definitely can call me anything, as long as it's nice. But I just wonder whether this is the chickens coming home to roost somewhat, because obviously we have seen NATO expanding and expanding, sovereign states wanting to join NATO, and at some point this was going to happen, that Russia was going to get annoyed about this. And now obviously there's a huge test on NATO. So, I mean, is NATO up to this test, do you think?
That's the key, Chris.
Thanks. Well, as you're right, as you just said, NATO has been admitting these Eastern European members. These sovereign states have every right to join whichever military alliance that they had. And yes, you're right. That Russia has, it would annoy Russia, it would anger Russia. But that's not an argument not to do that. And over the past 20 years, the West should have anticipated this instead of just assuming that Russia would be all right with it.
Yes.
And there are serious question marks there about whether NATO is up to it. And we'll have to see. They have the military capability, but do they have the resolve? Do they have the unity? And that's what's being tested at the moment.
And will they go along with the attack on one as an attack on all? Chris Newton, thank you very much. He's a military historian and a defence analyst. Thank you so much. Yeah, so let's ask the panel, do you... Because Vladimir Putin has been testing and testing and testing. We've created red lines that he didn't create at all. And I think NATO have been incredibly weak and our armed forces are depleted all across the board. We are not coordinated. I can't see that we would be able to respond correctly towards Vladimir Putin if he was to strike.
No, because we've been underspending for too long. One thing that I agree with Donald Trump about, which is not, I'm not like a Trump obsessive fan, but Europe should have been paying its way in security, because it's a ridiculous situation where we were depending on another continent for our security, a continent that gets to vote for its own leader. It's a silly way to stay safe. Ukraine was given a promise when it got rid of its nukes that if anything happened, there would be some protection there, and that's not been there. So I think that's a promise that should be stuck to. We need America to deliver on it, though. That's the thing. We can't do it ourselves.
And actually, America was part of the guarantors of that treaty.
As was Russia.
Yeah, indeed. But America hasn't honoured that promise. Look, I don't think we should be trying to see a split between the US and the rest of NATO here. I think the reality of what Christo said is absolutely right, but that pertains to 2014. It's not really relevant now.
I actually go back further than 2014.
Yeah, well, indeed. But so there were times when Russia wanted to make overtures, they were rebuffed, and Putin basically said, well, if you think I'm the bad guy, I'm going to be the bad guy. But now, this is a wholly different situation. We have a Russian army that is hugely depleted from this war, a Russian economy that is hugely depleted from this war, so much so that they're actually dragooning in soldiers from North Korea to actually come on the battlefield. This is not a war that Russia wants to sustain, but it is desperate to provoke, and this provocation, these three provocations that we've now seen, are trying to get the West to think, oh my goodness, this could escalate even further unless we now force Ukraine into a peace agreement. And I think that's exactly the playbook that Putin has had. It's the playbook that he went to Alaska to deliver to Trump. And the fact that we've got the president of the supposedly free world saying, well, I'm not overly happy about it. This is ridiculous. These are huge provocations, and NATO must respond with real strength.
Well, I've got to say that if you think about the Budapest Memorandum, which was a similar principle to Article 5 in the NATO covenant, which was that an attack on one is an attack on all. We promised to help if there was a problem, and the people who actually signed it, Russia, who was one of the signatories of that memorandum, has gone against it. So this is almost like a mirror. It's a mirror, isn't it, to see if NATO themselves will go against each other. It's the same thing.
I just find it also incredibly frustrating because Putin is wrong. Putin has invaded a sovereign territory. He is wrong. But I find it so incredibly frustrating, as your guest actually alluded to as well, that this could have been predicted over the last 30 years, what we've allowed to happen, I mean, I'm not making an apologist for Putin, as Farage was accused of, but we have just sort of taken this great cosy reassurance from NATO, more and more countries joining NATO without actually backing it up with any military force or military spending. And then now we're suddenly surprised that Putin has said, well, hang on, actually, I now am not happy about this. When if this was us, if there was a sovereign, if Ireland decided to do a sovereign sort of deal with China, we would be infuriated by it.
Think Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah, all of those sorts of things. And I just, and that's why I kind of feel for Trump, because he's trying to clean up a mess that was 30 years in the making.
I don't know about that. You know, we're sovereign nations. We should be able to do what we like. But hey, what do you think? Coming up, though.
Benefits are clear. Digital ID will make our interactions with each other and with the state faster, cheaper, and more reliable.
Really? Could Tony Blair's digital ID system be introduced in the UK? Find out next. This is Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition with me, Nana Acquia.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a wet start to the weekend for some, with a Met Office warning in force for heavy rain across northern and western areas. A much chillier day for all from Sunday onwards. Back to this evening though, and we've got this lingering weather front slowly edging its way southwestwards, dragging in some cloud and plenty of outbreaks of rain. This is set to continue through the overnight period, pushing more outbreaks of rain across parts of Wales, southwest England. This could be heavy at times. Otherwise, it should be mostly dry, just a few blustery showers clipping into the far northwest of Scotland and western coasts of Northern Ireland. But with plenty of cloud around, it should be a mostly mild night, temperatures dropping between 8 to 9 degrees Celsius in Scotland. Then to start off the weekend, in Scotland, yes, we're still going to continue to see blustery showers across the far north and northwest. Elsewhere, though, it should be mostly dry. Some showers starting to clip western coasts of Northern Ireland, and it is going to be a very wet start across northern parts of England, similar across Wales and southwest England too, where we could still see some quite heavy downpours of rain first thing on Saturday. Now, this system will slowly try to edge its way southeastwards. It's fairly slow moving, but it will eventually move into central parts of England, parts of the south too. A rain warning has been issued, so a chance we could see some localised flooding. A mix of sunny spells and showers across Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland, perhaps merging into some areas of persistent rain across Northern Ireland later. Staying mostly dry across the southeast, that's where we'll see the best of the temperatures. Not feeling quite as warm as Friday, but highs still reaching around 23 degrees Celsius. Now on Sunday, there are still set to be some spells of rain, turning into brighter spells and showers by the afternoon. But with a northerly flow of wind, things are set to feel a little bit chillier, particularly across Scotland in the strengthening breeze. Into next week, it should be mostly dry and sunny, but the chilly feel is here to stay, and it's likely we'll even start to see some overnight frost.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Join me, Nana Acquia, for an informative... Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show Live starts Monday night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Good evening and welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition. I'm Nana Acquia. Right, let's go to the front page of the Financial Times. And Sir Keir Starmer is pressing ahead with the introduction of digital ID as he tries to get a grip on illegal migration. An announcement is expected as early as the Labour Party conference. Officials have told the FT that the Prime Minister is determined to introduce the scheme despite Sir Tony Blair's failed, costly attempt back in the 2000s. Right, let's have a chat with my panel. Let's see what they've got on this. Now, I think this is just pushing things around when you've got mass migration, illegal migration, you've got problems with this country in terms of the economy, and now you want to introduce some scheme. Why?
Because, well, I mean, in fairness, in Greece, I think, where they have ID cards, I don't know if they're digital, I mean, it does work that you can't get healthcare and the like. So I sort of see the logic. I hate it, though. I hate the idea of a digital ID card. One would almost think, if I was a conspiracy theorist, I would think, well, actually, let's allow as many people in as possible so that, therefore, there is an appetite among the public to have a digital ID card which they can then use to control us. And I know that sounds a bit tin hat, but then let's look at COVID, when we had vaccine passports to go to the pub. That was a digital form of medical ID. So then it doesn't sound so far-fetched, does it? I'm against it. I think we've already got an ID card that could be utilised in order to make sure it's fair to use public services, and that's your national insurance card. Why don't we utilise that?
Barry Gardner.
Yeah, I'm quite mixed on this. I see that there are certain arguments that could be in favour of it. I look at the idea that if you are stopping some of the pull factors that do attract people to come here illegally, by making sure that it's much more difficult for somebody to come and get a job because you would have to show your digital ID, you'd have to be showing that. I can see that. But we do have e-visas now. I remain to be convinced, but I'm not wholly against it, but I'm certainly not an advocate for it. I think there's an argument to be made. I want to see what the government's going to do to make people, to persuade people that this is actually a good thing.
Here's why you should be against it. Because I think I used to be the same as you, and I think part of this, I feel like an old man who's shouting at clouds because I didn't like it in the Tony Blair era, and part of that is still in my head. But the more I think about this, the argument for it is, oh, it would help solve this issue with illegal migration.
How?
Exactly, because we know if there's one thing you know about someone who crosses illegally, they don't mind doing some illegal things. So the idea that they would then somehow, well, I was going to cross illegally, but I don't want to not get the card, so I'm not going to do that. That's not going to stop anyone. We already know the problem actually is in this the black economy. The story recently was the delivery companies that were just employing people, even though they had no right to be employed, delivering our food to us because we're all too lazy to go and fetch food these days. That would still happen. It would be pushing people into the employment sector that doesn't check your papers.
But actually, there's been a lot more crackdown on that sector, as you know. That's why it was reported over the past couple of weeks, because they were cracking down on that and making those checks. Now, it's a lot easier to make those checks if everybody is supposed to have documentation, because at the moment, you can go up to somebody and say, well, who are you? Where do you live? Oh, I haven't got any documentation on me, but I live at, 43 Acacia Avenue, and it's a load of nonsense. And when they try and check it up, there's nothing there.
Then why can't we use infrastructure of the national insurance card that's already there? Because one of the pull factors would be that you can turn up at the doctor's or the hospital and you can get treatment, you can have, you work in this black economy. Well, everyone gets an NI card and it's no one has ever asked for it. No one's ever asked to show it. I don't know, when was the last time you showed your NI card for anything? You don't have to, but the point is, you should. Yeah. But that's never enforced. We've actually got lawyers and the like that tell people who come here how to sort of get around the system so that they can go and get healthcare. If that was enforced, there wouldn't be any need for any of this.
But don't you think this is just pushing things around and just coming up with, oh, let's focus on digital ID now, oh, let's do... How about you focus on fixing the problem with the channel, focus on fixing the financial issues and trying to cut government spending instead of coming up with, there'll be another department, a Quango or something else to organise this, and then loads more people pushing paper about to get this off the ground. How long will it take? 3 or 4 years? Oh, no, it won't be ready before 2029 when you're out of office.
And then the prediction that it'll cost 10 billion will actually be 150 billion.
But the flip side of this is just that I realise it's happening anyway. I mean, my internet browser now knows my passport number for some bizarre reason recently. So, we're slowly being tracked without even noticing. interesting.
Yeah, and the kind of people, as you said, that will go along with this will be us. Forget people crossing here via the channel who just chuck their passports into the water. Right, well, let's have a look at the Times. On the front page, China are being given a licence to spy, warned Speaker Lindsay Hoyle. This comes after a decision was made to drop charges against 2 men accused of espionage. So Lindsay Hoyle is weighing up whether to carry out a private prosecution against the 2 accused of targeting the China research group of MPs. Right, Barry Gardner, you're an MP. Yes, please do.
This is particularly relevant to me because I had received donations for people working in my office from somebody who was accused of being an agent of influence for China. Now, they were never prosecuted, rightly in my view. They hadn't done anything illegal at all. But here, I'm really concerned about the failure to prosecute here. These were people who, one was working for the then chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, the other was then working for somebody who was in charge of the China All-Party Group, I think it was. So these were people who had real access, and I'm afraid the original decision, I think, to prosecute was the correct one, and I pay real tribute to Lindsay Hoyle for saying this is something that Parliament, these people were paid by Parliament, working in Parliament, and you know, I think it is something that Parliament should be taking very seriously indeed.
Yeah, Lindsay, I agree. I think this is, you know, if you, as he says, if you leave the door open, this is going to be... Actually, the other thing about Lindsay Hoyle is he's very keen on security. He speaks in an accent which I believe most Chinese spies couldn't actually manage to crack. And that's a great level of security. I think it's like encryption.
Code. Yeah, code. But they said that the evidence hasn't reached the threshold. So what's the solution to that then? Because if the evidence isn't there, then how could you proceed with the prosecution if that's what the Old Bailey has said?
But that's not saying there's no evidence, isn't it?
No, it's just the threshold of the evidence isn't there, yeah.
Maybe it's more important on these cases to give it a try.
Well, there was also the story that came out the other day about this, when it was first known that they were dropping the case, was a suggestion that they'd been encouraged to drop the case because the UK was interested in trade agreements with China and that there were commercial considerations that were now coming into play. Now, if that's the case, that is absolutely wrong.
Well, I don't think we need to be worrying about China spying on us. They're in your phone. They're everywhere, everywhere. Seriously, come on. Listen, stay with me. Coming up is Prince Harry thinking of moving back to the UK. Plus, we have more than 230,000 men being signed off for work for life. This is Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition, with me, Nana Acquia.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hot weather continues across the Canaries. It will turn a little cooler here into next week. Plenty of fine and sunny weather for Greece and Turkey, although a bit of a brisk breeze blowing across some of the Greek islands. Lots of sunshine too for Italy during the weekend, and indeed for much of eastern and southern Spain. But we will see increasing cloud and some showers over northern Spain and northern Portugal during Saturday afternoon. It is hot in Tenerife, but those temperatures just dipping off a little bit into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, good evening. Welcome to Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition. I'm Nana Akwe. And some breaking news. Over the last few moments, Zara Sultana, who is the co-leader, or I don't know whether they're in it together, of your party, the party doesn't have a name, so we'll use that as a working title. She has actually said that she is going to, this evening, she's instructed specialist defamation lawyers because of baseless attacks on her character, which are politically motivated, and she intends to hold to account those responsible for making them. So Zara Sultana is planning to sue some people who are tweeting to her on X, I suspect.
So a sexist boys club.
A party that doesn't have a name, with the person who we don't think is the leader is now going to take legal action against some people on X. It's going well, isn't it? It's going really well.
Calling them a sexist boys club, and yet that's not the defamation here.
Yeah.
It's the other way around. So, yeah, you're right, it's not going well. The whole thing didn't start well, did it? It was launched without... There was a committee vote online, which there was a majority vote, but Corbyn didn't vote for it, so he said it shouldn't have been launched. They launched anyway. Absolute mess. It's start again, otherwise it's going to be Change UK all over again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you remember... Anyone remember Change UK?
Yeah. Tucker Amuna. Who else was there?
Oh, was Anna Soubry in Change UK?
Yes.
I think she was in there. Oh, and was Dominic Grieve in it?
Yes.
This is like bingo, isn't it?
If you get a promotional hat from them, that'd be worth something on eBay, wouldn't it?
Barry Gardner, are you worried about Change UK? I don't know. I mean,
you've named it. You've named it. We've got a name for it.
Your party, I don't even know what they're called. They don't know what they're called.
No, I can safely say that I'm not.
Yeah.
So what do you think of Zara Sultana?
I tell you what I do think. I think it's stunning that Hunt got the 200 metres silver medal in the World Championships for Britain, and I gather she did it in a time of 22.14 seconds. That's a time when I was doing athletics that a man would have won it.
That's the amount of time it took for your party to actually get on with each other, and then after 22 seconds, that's well done.
Yes.
Touche.
Diversion there. I should learn how to do that.
Well, listen, let's bring you the front pages from tomorrow's papers. Let's look at the front of the cover of The Guardian. Two-child benefit cap is spiteful, Minister. In The Independent, Minister, Navy can take on small boats. Admiral, nonsense. On the front cover of The Sun, leads with the Met bid to nail Maddie suspect. The front cover of The Mail, NATO warplanes intercept Putin's jets over Estonia. The Daily Star leads with give Ricky a salute. course, that's a salute to Ricky Hatton. The Times, China given licence to spy. The Daily Mirror, 1D Lewis duped into $4 million fraudster footy plot. Financial Times, Starbucks gives green light to digital ID plan. Daily Express, so how is one in, one out scheme going, Keir? iWeekend MPs secretly want to kill UK state pension triple lock, but reform too toxic for reason. The Telegraph rewards terror, says Badenoch. Well, that's all we've got time for. Thank you to my guests. We're back tomorrow at 11 p.m. with some other people. And if you're watching at 5 a.m, stay tuned for breakfast.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a wet start to the weekend for some, with a Met Office warning in force for heavy rain across northern and western areas. A much chillier day for all from Sunday onwards. Back to this evening though, and we've got this lingering weather front slowly edging its way southwestwards, dragging in some cloud and plenty of outbreaks of rain. This is set to continue through the overnight period, pushing more outbreaks of rain across parts of Wales, southwest England. This could be heavy at times. Otherwise, it should be mostly dry, just a few blustery showers clipping into the far northwest of Scotland and western coasts of Northern Ireland. But with plenty of cloud around, it should be a mostly mild night, temperatures dropping between 8 to 9 degrees Celsius in Scotland. Then to start off the weekend,